Thank you very much. I'm going to turn this over to Susan Brearley, the founder of the Garden of Neuro Institute, and she can give us a little bit of information about what we're doing here tonight as well. And then Nancy Arbizu will take over.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate that. I'm humbled by the turnout tonight, and I'm just very, very thrilled that we have a core group that believes in this project. Let me tell you a little bit about the inspiration for this. About 3 years ago now, maybe, I had a guest in my home, and there were many things that led to the talk, but the main one was a guest in my home. His name was Maurice Gordon, and he was from Jamaica. He was scheduled to be here for 3 weeks. After the second week, one day, he left and never came back. And it wasn't until quite a few days later that I learned that he was stopped by a New Jersey State Police and shot 5 times and killed. And as my friend Nancy Arbizu says, it doesn't affect you until it affects you. And it's taken this, I still tear up, and it's taken me this many years to not break down and cry over this incident. Some additional things have happened along the way, but I wanted to do something that would be meaningful and thought, how can we change the way this story goes? How can we instill in people the compassion and the heart? How can we touch their hearts in a way that might cause them to stop before they do something so fast that everyone regrets it? How can we touch hearts? And the idea for the talk came to being, and we've been talking about this. We've been talking about doing this anthology for at least a year, I think. And the time has come. And so we have a call for submissions. We are looking for stories that people can share about this talk that happens in families. And while anyone will be able to purchase this book, I think the true audience for this book is those people who are yet unaware that this talk even happens, that these conversations even happen, that say, you have to look out for yourself, you have to be aware you are not safe to walk in the world. And so that's the idea for the talk. I am hoping that we can gather as many of these heartfelt stories as possible. I know some of them will be difficult, some of them will be raw, some of them will be challenging, but I think that's what's necessary. I think people need to have the reality of what this is like. I will be writing my story about Maurice Gordon. I've waited for 3 years to tell it because I did not want to do anything to jeopardize the court case that the family has ongoing. You can read about his case, of course, by Googling his name, Maurice Gordon. And so thank you. I just thank you here for being here, for supporting the project. I'm going to turn it over to Nancy. We can do some readings and some sharing, and I'm just humbled and grateful that you're all here. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This is very exciting stuff. And so how the open mic will work, just if you could either raise your hand in using the, the the emotion thing down there, let me know by raising your hand you're ready to read or to speak on something, to share a perspective, to share something you have written, or even something an idea you want to ponder out loud. And I ask that while you're not speaking, please allow the speaker to speak uninterrupted. And before you begin, please introduce yourself. Where are you in the world? Who are you in the world? And if you have also at any time, if you have any links to your projects that you're working on, if you have a website, if you have something like a podcast that is super cool to listen to, please put that in there. So what will happen is when people download this video, they will have links in the chat. So that saves for everybody. And so anyone ready to begin? I'm going to open up my screen right now. I have it on. Anybody ready to begin? I'm not seeing any hands go up. Anybody?
Nancy, I just wanted to, my name is Cheryl, by the way. I
Hi,
just wanted,
Cheryl.
hi, I just wanted to say that the talk is not a one and done thing, okay? That happens in Black families. The talk is an ongoing conversation. Because with our children, we don't just say it one time and then, that's it. This is something that as events unfold in life events, news, breaking news, and we're seeing yet another Black person mowed down or killed by police or violence taking place. We have this conversation repeatedly again. This is one unfolding of Emmett Till every single day since Emmett Till. So if you can imagine living your life with him in the background as part of your history in 2022, that is the whole genesis of why the talk is still necessary. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but I just wanted to say that.
It absolutely does, Cheryl, make sense. And I think the reason why it's so important to continue having this conversation is because it's an ongoing talk that has to be had. How do we impact that? How do we work on that so that the conversation can change from one of where it is now of where we want it to be? How does that happen? By continuing to have these conversations, by continuing to share these stories. And like Susan said, to the people who don't live it every day from that perspective. Kyle, I
has
think
his hand up.
yeah, Kyle, I see your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Before I offend anybody, is it alright if I share a picture or a screenshot of this group? Does anybody have an issue with that? So I have a yes confirmation. Thank you. That's all.
Kyle had asked me to read his poem for tonight, so I'll go ahead and jump in and do that. Just pull it up here. It's called Unsettled Hearts. Unsettled hearts, rhymes and diction may soothe you for now. Changing tides and winds may leave you gasping for air. You may be more open to seeing me through scary nights. You may not. That's all up to you. I must keep this bus riding smoothly. I must create an environment mutually beneficial and useful to all parties involved. For my next act, maybe I'll put my best foot forward first, or learn how to listen and decipher non-visible gestures, unheard affirmations, build courage, and put my neck on the line to get you to silently smile because I miss the attraction. I miss the soul-quenching thirst for dialogue. I miss the draw between my pen and the paper. My mailing address is unchanged, phone number the same, ability to text mastered. I must focus on progress. That mid-meeting point is now in my front yard. Until I see you there, changing dedication is going to be rare. And I'll
Thank
put
you.
the link in chat so people can read that poem again if they want to. Thank you for writing that beautiful poem, Kyle.
Thank you for your support.
Should we just go around the room and introduce ourselves? Let's do that. Let's start off that. I will. So there's some people who don't have their video on. Is it all right to pick on you a little bit? I would like to choose Michael, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi there. Well, my name is Michael. I'm from North Carolina. Currently, I've been writing for a long time, even though I'm kind of young. I'm in my 30s. I tend to write from either a place of politics, progressive politics, or from a place of creative inspiration, like musical, like trying to incorporate musical imagery into poetry. That's been a lot of my focus. And one of my latest poems was inspired by the attack on Paul Pelosi, and how it had been just before the election, and how a lot of people would see it as an important rallying cry to get out in front. But I'm here to take in what I can from this whole session and enjoy everyone's work. I don't really have a website, but I have an email address. I don't really have much work published yet, but I have a lot of work. I have a lot of work that hasn't been published yet. But a lot of poets can say that, I think. But my most important drive is to try to create songs, create musical songs, my work. Anyway, I don't have too much else to say now.
Well, thank you, Michael. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm also hearing impaired and vision impaired, some other disabilities too, but I managed to participate with Zoom just fine. I have cochlear.
Thank you for being here.
I did have captions here too, but I don't really need them too much.
Very nice. Thank you, Michael. How about Larry? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, Larry Richardson. I'm a poet and writer from Philadelphia, PA, that resides in Lancaster. Lisa told me she's my publisher and editor, so through her, I published 6 books so far. Altogether 8 books within the last 2 years, from 2020 to 2022. I mean, so I'm working on my short stories and plays and movie scripts now. So basically, when they said about the talk about was, the things that's going on in the world that's affecting us, I'm very serious about trying to come up with solutions to, to deal with the problems that we face every day. And, so this is important to me. So that's why I'm here. So thanks.
Good job.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate
I
you
mean,
being here.
I do have a poem, but I guess when we go around, in Pacifics, I like to share that. So,
Okay, thank you. We will put you at the top of the list for that.
mm.
Laris, how about you? Introduce yourself. Although I'm betting you know most of the people in the room.
Okay, my name is Loris Wallace.
Loris.
I am one half of the writing team Sisters Rock and Rhyme, and I here in Chicago. I'm a divorced mom of a 21-year-old boy, and we've had several conversations. We are still having those conversations, even though he is in the Air Force now, stationed in Germany, but we still have these conversations. And when earlier today, when you were speaking, it came to my mind a phrase that D.L. Hughley said, and he said, the biggest thing that Black people live by is the white man's fear, his fear of Black people, and whether it is real or imagined. And that's basically why it's necessary for us to have the talk. And that's why this forum, I think, is very important, and to enlighten, and so you can know where we're coming from, and we can understand how you feel in regard to this situation. So I'm honored to be here, and I'm going to let my sister Cheryl give the website and all the stuff like that, because she's better at it than I am.
Thank you so much. It was a conversation with you and your sister that sparked this conversation of there's stuff that we need to know bigger than just one part of the community. And it doesn't affect you until it affects you. And that conversation affected me that day, of stories I'd never heard before, because I'd never heard before, and the fear and the ridiculous fear of the unknown. And I think the more conversation we have, the more we get to understand how, we all have fears, but so much of it, who's our great president who said, the only thing to fear is fear itself.
Right.
And it's what we put into our own minds. So I'm so grateful you are here. And speaking of Cheryl, where are you? There she is. I'm going to ask you to come back for a moment and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl. I am older sister to Loris, and that's my crib mate, best friend, companion, sister. I am her biggest fan. So we support each other. We always have. Writing is just the end of that relationship, really. It all started as young girls reading Judy Blume books until we went to college, and we found and discovered ourselves. Because frankly speaking, two Black girls in a predominantly white suburb, we're invisible. And Ralph Ellison and Richard Wright and all of the great literary greats, Langston Hughes, all spoke of this invisibility, where you are a human being breathing, and yet when your skin color looks like ours, you remain unseen in the world. And so Loris and I both started a love affair with Black literature because frankly, it saw us. It was speaking to us in the language of which we spoke in about, frankly, Black issues that our parents were living and lived. And, you know, Zora Neale Hurston and other people like that. That's who we read. And because Black literature was such a bigger than life presence, we dare to think that maybe we could write stories like that. And so that's what started us in our journeys of writing.
Thank you for that amazing story. And it's such an honor to have both of you here. I love your podcast. It's so much fun to listen to. The connection the two of you have is cribmates, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you,
I-
Nancy. Thank you so much.
I'd like to say a special hello and welcome to KT. KT's been, he's in the Baltimore area, and he has been a guest here in my home in Poughkeepsie, New York, a number of times now. And like Maurice, he comes to visit me through Airbnb, and so he comes and goes. And I told him a little bit about this project, and he said to me, you know, I think you might be onto something. So KT says, no, I'm not a writer, but he told me about some projects that he's working on. And I think that he has a network of people, and that that it very well may be that with his support, we may be able to outreach and find more people who have stories to share and tell. So thank you for being here tonight with us, KT.
You know, that brought up something what you just said, Susan, that just light bulb was popped in my head, and I gotta say it. If you don't feel like you're a writer, like a poet or essayist or whatever, if you will record it, I'll transcribe it for the book. You know, if you just want to talk your story into a recorder, you can get them online or whatever, and just send it, you know, I'll be glad to do that.
That's a wonderful offer. Thank you for that, Lisa. KT, you opened your mic.
So good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you, Susan, for inviting me to this platform. Wow, this is I'm getting excited. I'm a part of two men groups here in Baltimore. One meets every Wednesday, and another one meets every other Wednesday. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Did 7 years in the United States Marine Corps, about a year and a half NYPD, and that wasn't for me, sales, and then now I own my own sales and marketing business. But the topic that we've been talking about has been similar to what I'm hearing tonight. And how does the Black race, the Black people, how do we make a difference? How do we change the order of the day? And me personally, this is just KT speaking, I don't know. That's a tough thing that we're going to have to do, because the way of the road is not set up wholeheartedly for us to do that because of past traumas that we have had generations long ago. You see what I'm saying? And you fast forward to now, 2022, wow, it's still going on. And now it's more or less in your face. You know, the races and all that is like, it's spoken. People back when I was growing up, in the 70s, 80s, most of the people kept that stuff in the closet. Now it's out the closet. You know what I'm saying? Like people are just so open to talk and speak their whatever they want to say, and it's just and I don't think it can't be done. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the rules of the game is not in our favor. How about that? The rules of the game is just not in our favor. Now we can try. We've been trying. Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X. You know, we've been trying a long time, but it's just what it is. Now I'm always open to the solutions, and like my men's group, we talk about it. We talk about it, and it's some deep, deep conversation. So I would love to introduce this particular, I don't know how to do it, but however we can, and if you want them to be a part of this, or however we want to do it, just let me know. And Lisa, so my prayer back in, I want to say 2005, maybe 2004, I was in a very sensitive, low place. So in my house, in my apartment, in one of my rooms, I had a 2-bedroom apartment. In one of my rooms, I did Blog Talk Radio, and I did a radio show every morning for 1 hour for like 4 or 5 months. It was just the KT Tyler radio show. And those are recorded, and I've been meditating. How do I get this, to the people? How do I, and I've been just, thinking and wondering. So if there's a way, I'll put my information in the chat. And then, if there's some way we can talk and I can show you what I actually have, and listen, I'm willing to put this in books, CDs, or whatever it is, because to me, I poured my heart into I actually made it seem like I was on a radio show. It's cool. It was so cool, but it was a very inspirational, basically radio show. And I used John's Maxwell book as a revelation for one revelation every day, and I used that as a starting point. And then I just let my consciousness flow, and I just spoke to whatever the topic was. So I would love to get the opportunity to share this with you, to get this into to people's hands.
Yeah, KT, drop your email to me, and let's talk about how we can make that happen.
Most definitely. Thank you. Carlos, are you ready
Hey,
to
good
step up
evening,
to the mic?
Hey, good evening. Can everybody hear me? Hey, my name is Carlos Miller. I live in Texas. I'm from Mississippi, though. If you look me up on like Instagram or Facebook, it'll be C Miller, just the letter C. Because I'm in Texas, you walk in a room and call for Carlos, I'm probably not the guy that'll stand up first. So the way we got around that is I just go with C Miller. So C Miller 2020 Vision on Facebook or Instagram. And I started writing about 9th grade with nobody listening to how I felt, no way. So I wrote it all out, and that was my way of getting my real feelings out. A lot of time, by the time it come out of our mouth, people already turn on filters, so they hear what they want to hear. But once you write it down, it's going to remind people for generations. So I write a little bit, and then the people that the Lord put in my life, I help them write a little bit. And and I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Lisa and Susan, for all you contribute and for the invitation. My sisters, Lyris and CJ. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for the invite.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So Katie, are you there? Would you like to introduce yourself? Where are you in the world, and what brings you to this talk?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, sorry, I didn't expect that I was going to speak. I was having some internet troubles, and I was just trying to get back on. I'm using LTE right now. My internet is still not back on. But anyway, so my name is Katie Leung. I I recently moved from Staten Island to Elmsford, so I'm now in Westchester. So right in the Hudson Valley. And Susan actually invited me. She sent me a link, and yeah, I'm just happy to like attend and listen to all of you speak. And yeah, just getting like a new perspective, if any at all, for me. And I've been, trying to, understand more of the BIPOC space. So yeah, I'm excited to learn from all of you.
All right, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. So I'd like to open it up now. If anybody would like to share that specific story. KT, what you were talking about was amazing. I can see you having that platform, that open space to bring those stories to the front and center. And that's what it's about, is sharing those stories. And like CJ said, is the continuing story of the everyday, of what is faced every day in these moments. So if anyone is ready for an open mic moment, let's see.
So Nancy, if you want, I can read Risha's story.
Okay.
So one of the things we're going to do with this publication, with this anthology, is we're going to, everyone who submits a story, whether it's something that's audio and we transcribe it, or whether it's something that you've written yourself, and even if you don't think that you can write it yourself, we're going to have workshops so we can help people find their voice and get the words on the paper. But we will literally be opening this up to anyone in the world who has to face this ongoing talk. And so one of our sisters in the garden, Risha Sharma, she's been a part of all the anthologies we've done so far, and she's also going to be part of this one called The Talk. And Risha is from India, and she currently lives in Singapore. And this was something that she submitted, that she asked. She couldn't be here because, of course, in Singapore right now it's the middle of the night, so she couldn't be here to read it herself. But she sent this to us and said, "Would you share this?" And this is what Risha's story had to. This is how Risha's story goes. The first conversation till the last cannot be summed up in an essay or a poem. Such are the conversations between mother and child, between sisters, between friends and kindred spirits. They go on and on. It was so long ago that I'm sure I carry more memories of it than my son. It was his beginning in a multiracial school here in Singapore. Although we've been in a place where people of multiple ethnicities exist in a charming harmony, there's always that unconscious effort to connect with more of one's own ethnicity. My son, let's call him R, moved from a predominantly Asian kindergarten to a school where a huge majority of children were expats of Caucasian origin. We never spoke much about it, and with R being a shy child, we didn't prod him much and goad him to make new friends. In a matter of a few weeks, he made his first friends. All three of them were the front runners of the class and shared similar hobbies of reading and going treasure hunting in the school grounds. It was all fun and games till one fine day he got home and asked me the most weird question. "How come, Mama, I'm not as fair as you?" I was flummoxed and decided to think the answer through. I wanted to know where the idea of the color of the skin came from. Are brown people dirty? He persisted as I fed him an after-school snack. Humph, I sat down with a long sigh. No, they are not dirty, as in we are not dirty. We're just different shades of wheat, because we eat a lot of wheat in India. I supplied a rather lame reasoning. They do too, he informed me. We live in the tropics, and thus our skin gets browned more by the sun, and then it becomes an inherited trait over generations. The lighter skinned people generally live in the colder parts of the world where the sun is not too harsh, and thus they're lightly baked, I said. But why does it bother you so much? Did anyone say anything to you at the school? No one said anything, but why can't I have golden hair and white skin like my friends? It's not like you can't have it, it's just how you are, and honestly, very cute. I could be cute if I was fairer, he added as an afterthought. Do your friends, let's call them A and F, not love you as you are? A asked me why I was brown and my hair so black, and then F told us that all Indians are like that. Did you feel bad about this discussion? No, but F said I was a brunette like his elder sister, and I didn't like it because I felt like a girl. But why don't I have a similar color to yours even? I realized that these children were forging some early bonds in their life, and there's a lot of curious discussion about each other that may enable a degree of greater understanding and closeness towards each other. I couldn't taint it with a label of racism, of color-based discrimination, of a bias that is not yet a part of their understanding of the world. I think you want to be lighter in skin because you want to feel closer to them. Is that it? Mama, we are like brothers. They both look similar and I look different. It's all right to be different. Imagine if you all grew up and you took them for a backpacking trip across India. How weird they'll feel. And all of us feel weird and out of place at times. And that's okay. Am I making sense to you? Over the next few days, I told him all sorts of things about birds wielding different colors of feathers and still sharing the same skies, chocolate cupcakes being as delicious as vanilla ones, a zebra and a hippo being friends in his favorite movie. Our conversation went on for days till one day he got home and showed me a Christmas card that A had made for him. It showed a red-roofed house on which was parked Santa's sleigh, and right in front of the house were 3 boys, gifts in a pile next to them, posing for a picture with Santa, the picture that A drew. All 3 boys were differently colored, yellow, pink, and blue with lovely red mops of hair. It made me laugh because their t-shirts said A, R, and F respectively. It made R so happy and the sun shone a little brighter upon the world that day. Have we stopped talking about this since then? No, we still do. But R knows now how fortunate he is to have friends that are different from him in all imaginable ways, and yet they share this innocent bond of friendship and brotherhood. So thank you, Risha, if you're watching this, thank you for submitting this story. It's just an idea, it gives you an idea of the kinds of stories that will be possible in this anthology called The Talk.
Thank you, Susan, for reading that. Does anyone else ready to read something?
I'll go.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go, Loris, but I'm
Okay.
really interested to hear a Black male perspective. So I wanted our brother Carlos to, I really wanted to hear what he had to say as a Black male with his own sons and being a Black boy at one time.
Yes.
I want to know what his experience was.
And Larry also had his hand up too. He was ready to go too. So we've got 2 ready to go.
Okay.
Who's going?
Larry, are you ready?
Well, Carlos could go if possible.
Okay. Carlos, are you ready?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Thank you. All right.
So like I told you guys, I'm living in Texas. Anybody ever been to Texas? Raise your hand. You've been to Texas? Okay. So you understand what I mean when I say Texas weather is so unpredictable. We roller coaster. Climatic drops from 110 degrees to freeze without time to prepare. Instructions go from Make sure you're drinking plenty of water to wear your hat and cover your ears within days. And when preparing my kids to go out in the weather, these are the things I have to say. But some climates never change. Some temperatures can't be controlled. Meteorologists have accepted the fact that there's a demographic set apart and there's no fair weather on their radar. Traumatizing tropical storms do irreparable harm, and for this neck of the wood, that's the norm. What's the weather going to be like, Dad? That's the question my youngest son asks. Partly cloudy with a chance of pain is the prediction I always say. For Black folks, pain is inevitable, a part of our everyday. When I tell him to cover his ears, it's said with fear and reservations, knowing having a hoodie on for him could get him handcuffed, locked up, profiled. And my child could be the next gloomy weather report on the 6 o'clock news. Told him to cover his ears, now I'm hearing tears singing the blues. What if he panics and moves in haste when red and blue lights flash in his face? It's cold outside, son. And the weather ain't changing no time soon. Dad can tell you how to prepare for hot and cold temperatures, but for us, when it rains, it pours. Politicians, preachers, pimps, and leeches, all hope died with Christ. Then they gave us pictures and painted them white. Ain't no hope for this hopeless life. I hope me while I'm holding this mic. Storms brewing off the coast. He brewing. He ain't mad, sad, or speaking pridefully. He just doing what a Hebrew do. He brewing. Gunfights and stereotypes are what's in store for my Black child's life. Being misunderstood and profiled, son, is your lifelong weather forecast. And as your dad, I can honestly say, that's all that's in store for your Black ass. Why? Because that's a fact. There are no sunny days nor fair weather on Doppler radar when you're Black. Hurricanes of pain. Strong winds from the south that make us doubt whether our Black lives even matter at all. If our Black lives matter as much as y'all's, the Constitution prohibits the banning of slavery. They're still slaves today, and America will still beat them. Treat them like they don't need them. Fool us into believing that we could march our way to freedom. And leave us writing painful poems like these, knowing no one will ever read them. It's cold outside, son.
Wow.
All we can do is cover up good. Dress ourselves in mercy and prayer. From the time you wake up to the time you fall back and sleep, there's death and suffering everywhere. And the toughest part of my everyday is when my children are away from home, and time after time I stare at my phone screen, wondering if I get the call saying they're gone. Texas weather is so unpredictable. It changes from day to day. Partly cloudy with a chance of pain. Black folks' weather don't never change. Thank you.
Woo! Woo!
Powerful.
I have this image of raining Black bodies. Woo, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope you submit that and we put that in the talk. It is.
He already did.
Pretty good.
I think we
wonderful.
cut
That
that
was wonderful.
video and just do that video. Wow, that was intense. Yeah, that was wonderful.
You
And
are.
Carlos,
and
I have always been so impressed with your reading. You know, are you? I feel like you're just speaking from your heart right now, not even reading. Every time I've heard you read any of your work, it's been like that.
You know, this is a very sensitive place. We have to move like funambulists because we're teetering on the edge of over and under sensitivity. We don't know, you know, it's always this imbalance going on inside of the average Black person. Knowing that something needs to be said, but as soon as you speak up, somebody will have the nerve to tell us to just get over it, or you'll be labeled as irrational person or this angry Black man. And I'm a Black man trying to gather my broken pieces and keep all my emotions in check, but I still have to tell these young Black men that came from me how to keep their emotions in check when everything that's happening to them is upsetting me. Everything I see, it upsets me. No matter, I understand why a lot of it happens, but it's still upsetting. So yeah.
I just wanted to say I love you, and I loved that read so much. You know, outside of Lars, I am your biggest cheerleader. You know that already. And I wanted to hear what you had to say, and you did not disappoint, and you never
You
did.
did not.
And you are so good. I don't even think you even realize just really how special and how good you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlos.
I love you
Made my
guys. You
night.
know I love you.
That made my night.
Oh, and I also wanted to say, and I'm going to let somebody else read, but I don't know if you guys can imagine, there is a scene, and you all need to really go see the movie Emmett Till, because you just need to see it. But there is a scene that Mamie is talking to her son, and she tells her child, and I'm reminded of my sister talking to my nephew. You can't imagine having an 8-year-old child that is talented, precocious, ready to just get out here and be a little kid. And then you tell them as their mother, an adult, that they should shrink themselves, that they should be smaller rather than be irreverent and be big and have this great presence, because that great presence can be misunderstood. And if that great presence is met by someone with ill intentions and a racist, that can be the end for them. And so Black parents always are teetering that edge that Carlos was talking about. We're always dancing on that ledge of protecting our children, but also telling them that they have to make portions of themselves very small. And that also goes back and plays into that invisibility that I was talking to you guys about. So that's the other side of that. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Cheryl. Your insights are always so enlightening, and I love them so much. Thank you. Larry, are you ready to share?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. This subject about the unbalance of the world, and you know what people of color with going through is not by coincidence, it's by design. So you know, and it's deep rooted in the foundation of this society, of this man-made society, utopia of hatred, and the fact of denial of origin of the existence of humanity, fabricated with lies on top of lies, because to stare the truth in the face would be too much, would cause a lot of people to, mass people to go and commit mass genocide. So technically, you know, the institutions that's in place and the roadblocks is to stop, you know, the origin of humanity to become who they are, who they meant to be by design and by right. I'm not here to put down the system, but I don't think the system will work as long we have a certain race that believes superiority or supremacy based on lies and destruction and violence is going to change, and they're not willing to give that up, even though all things are pointing that it will have to be given up. They're not going to give up without a fight or their last stand, if that means even to drop the bombs. If I can't have it all, you're not going to have none. And when you do, and rightfully, time changes things, and the way that life is designed, naturalization, that those that were denied, eventually they're not going to be denied anymore. So on that note, being that powers that be know this and know that naturalization and know that time, things reverse as time moves forward. Is platforms like this that allow us as artists or people of concern for the betterment of humanity to force people to look at the ugliness of self and greed and propaganda and fabrication of lies and years of psychological abuse with a certain race or certain races. We get desensitized to the oppressor, and we have traits of him within our system and within our DNA, morphed into our DNA or our natural DNA. So basically, we get desensitized to what's happening, and it's like people that have trauma with an oppressor, and they end up falling in love with them, or starstruck. I think that we as a society have come desensitized to what's happening as a whole. And, we have fallen in love with the platform that is out here, or that's being, fed us through artists, through pointing to a culture that, hey, rappers, the musicians now, hey, this is what we want to put out there, and we're going to pay you a handsome sum, and we're going to make you a superstar, and we're going to have millions of people idolizing you, but technically you're going to be leading them to spiritual death, not the physical, the spiritual death, and lose self of their knowledge of who they are, and as a whole and as an individual, and by design. So living in a world of let me be honest, I'm not racist or anything, but just to be honest, living in a white man's world, being Black, knowing that, my ancestors was shipped here, and we were here even before they shipped us, here, and have to grow up seeing these things and knowing these things and feeling these things as a Black man. It's for me, as a poet and writer, I love to write love and all that, but to get down to the nitty gritty and to have people to try to let people see the rawness of their actions and how it affects not one race but all races, and have that, and they be stoic in their Pharaoh ways when Moses came and said, "Let my people go." No, no, no. And so we try march and we try this and that, and now the end result is, and what I'm talking about is that I don't. I mean, I know there's that police brutality in my, and people look at me as a black man low, but my concern is more so, the black on black crime being perpetrated by, brothers that look like me, not so much the cops or anybody. I live in my neighborhood. I'm more likely to be killed by someone that looks like me. So this poem is called Why. As the dark shroud of spilt blood and death fills and takes the sweetness of living air, the inhabitants of the Twilight Zone nightmare go about their daily business, dealing with the residual effects with much to bear. Nothing that happens while residing hostage to the gun isn't by coincidence, but done with subliminal intention and design, even to methodically and systematically blocking the rays of the sun. Individuals are on edge, and all it takes nowadays is something not beneficial to their living arrangements to set it off the chaos of assumption. We're in a certain process of times of deadly consumption. Nothing from nothing surely is a terrible sign, and leaving us all with the dust and lint of zero gain. Watch out, everyone, because on any given day, it could be who you would least suspect to bring the horrific destruction and unprecedented pain. Is this how, in the history books and the great journals and annals of the assistance, we want to truly be remembered by? Hold up, bang, bang, bang. There goes another one dead as loved ones for the fallen begin to frantically suffer and cry. Why is this happening? Why we don't, as one humanity, overall stop the madness when it takes away joy, happiness, blessings, and it's so saddening? Why we continue to feed into the ideology of lies, which is fabricated and manifested, destroy souls and lives? These questions and more I often think about, and I still can't figure why. Why is it more likely that by the hands of those who look very much like me, I'm destined to die? I ask too, why can't we give love a try? Why?
That was wonderful, Larry. Thank you. Why is this happening? I was making notes as you were speaking. The ideology of fabricated lies. Why are we here for the nitty gritty? We're here for the nitty gritty.
Yes.
And that's what we're here to hear. The cult mind morphed into our DNA. The ugliness of self. The ugliness of self. That really hit me. Not by conscious. This is by design. This is not by coincidence. This is by design. And I think you're right about that. I think you're very right about that. But I also think that if we share more of these stories, like what Carlos spoke about, what like you spoke about, that maybe we can change that. What we have morphed into our DNA, maybe we can morph something new into our DNA, and that's why we're here. KT, I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, because I want to, I like your first introduction, but Lars, if you're ready to speak, I'd love to hear from you too. So whoever unmutes first.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm just going to read the essay that I submitted. And if we get back around to it, I have a poem, but right now I just wanted to give you the from the point of view of a Black mother raising a Black son. The greatest day of my life was when I welcomed my son into the world. Like most moms with children, I felt like I blinked and suddenly my newborn had become a grown man. Time seemed to fly. It never seemed like enough time to share all there is about life and how to maneuver through it with as little damage as possible, especially growing up as a Black male child with only a divorced mom leading the way. I found myself talking long and talking often, not because my son was difficult, but simply because he was Black, and I knew the world would see him not as the cute little boy I saw him as, but as a threat and something that needed to be gotten under control. As my son grew older and more independent, I became more vocal and told him how to move in a world where certain people would find his very presence intimidating. When you're walking downtown, son, always walk as if you had somewhere to be. Never stroll or walk slowly. Never linger too long in front of a business, and only enter in if you have money in your pocket and you are ready to make a purchase. Most of all, keep your hands where they can be seen and never put your hoodie up, not even if it's raining. It was quite difficult for me because my experience growing up was different from my son's. First of all, I was a Black female who grew up in an all-white neighborhood outside of the big city under the watchful eye of a very intimidating father and a very wise mother. My son grew up in the inner city of Chicago under the watchful eye of a single divorced mom. I had to learn quickly, and I had to relay those lessons to him without scaring him and without letting society make him feel less than or that he was something to be feared or controlled. I remember when my son had a school assembly and the Chicago police came to speak to the children about how the police were there to help them. And if they saw any trouble or felt like they were in danger, to notify the police, and they would be there to help them. When Jonah came home and told me about the assembly, I felt very angry. How could they stand there and lie to those precious Black children's faces? And then I felt sad because I had to explain to my son that wasn't true for us as Black people. I told him, police are not your friend, son. They are your accuser. If you feel threatened, run to the closest Black adult you can find. If you see a crime being committed and are questioned by the police, the only answer you give is, I didn't see a thing, sir. Then you give them my name and my phone number. I don't care if the crime happened right in front of you. You say you saw nothing, because they will try to implicate you in it somehow. One of the scariest days for me while raising my son was the first day of sophomore year in high school when he was 15 years old. My son came home so happy and excited as he threw down a book on the coffee table. He said, "Oh, Mama, this is going to be a great year." I said, feeling his excitement, "Yeah, and why is that, son?" He looked at me with wide eyes, with a big grin on his face, and said the two most dreaded words you could hear as a mother of a growing Black boy in an urban city: driver's ed. I'm taking driver's education this semester, and soon I'll have my license. When he said those words, I could swear I heard them in slow motion. Driver's license. My mouth went dry. My heart pounded like a bass drum, and I got hot all over. I didn't want to quell his enthusiasm with my fear, but I had to tell him there were rules he needed to follow that were not in the rules of the road book he threw on the coffee table. Rule number 1, son, never drive with more than one Black person in the car, especially if it's males. I know you have a lot of friends, but cops like to pull over cars that have lots of Black males inside. If you should get pulled over, keep both hands on the wheel. If they ask you for your license, ask them if you have permission to retrieve your license from your back pocket. While the cop is running your license, tell your passenger to remain quiet and to turn on their camera phone. If asked to get out of the car, say, "You do not have my permission to search my car. I do not have any drugs or weapons of any kind in my car." Do not engage them in conversation. Stick to yes, sir, no, sir. And above all, stay calm. These are just a few of the talks I have had with my son, Jonah, as he grew up. And now that he is 21 years old, I still talk to him because it's still necessary. It's even more necessary now that he is a man than it was when he was a boy. Now I have to explain to him why, when he's finally a man at 21, he will be more likely to be referred to as a boy by his boss. But when he was 17, he was called a man. As Black mothers, we must never stop talking to our Black children, especially our Black sons. We must talk long and we must talk often.
Thank you so much.
was
That
awesome.
was
Love you, Larry. Proud. Love you, Larry. So proud of you.
Love you too, Carlos. Thank you.
I love that essay so much for so many reasons, because I was there. I was right there when those talks were happening in real time. And I kind of was an aunt, but I was like a second mom to my nephew, which is Laura's. I call him Ezra. That's his middle name, but that's Jonah. And so I love that essay for so many reasons. I'm going to piggyback off that because I actually wrote a poem that's going to be in this anthology. It's called Hands in Plain Sight. And this is just kind of the poetic version of what Laura's just shared with you guys. We won't speak today of birds and bees. I won't tell you to beware of fast girls hiding behind trees, speaking softly to you of nature beckoning with sweet honeybees. Today, my little boy's innocence will be lost in a different way. Lord, give me wisdom. Tell me what to say. How do I tell him white police officers won't protect him? Not at 8 years old. Peace officers are not a Black boy or Black man's friend. I have to tell him always, keep your hands in plain sight. Son, Black skin is used for target practice for the men that wear blue any day and all through the night. Avert direct eye contact. Be mindful of your tone. Don't ever raise your voice. You may not make it home. Yes, sir. No, sir. Do I have permission to retrieve my ID, sir? Son, do you understand? No sudden movements. Keep your hands in plain view. left hand at 10, right hand at 2. Maybe with a lot of faith and prayer, when you're stopped by police, perhaps they'll reconsider killing you.
Mm.
The talk when you are Black never comes with ease. In 2022, it means stay away from cops so you're not shot by profiling racist white police. Black parenting is hard, a hurt of a different sort. Our kids' skin color won't protect them. For some, it's an unnecessary curse. Always keep your hands in plain sight. Maybe if you're lucky, son, they'll return you home safely to your family tonight.
Thank you, CJ.
Love it. Loved it, Cheryl. Loved it. The
Speaks to the
sad thing is,
daily.
this is our reality. This is most Black people's reality. They have to have these talks. You know, even now, I tell my son, he has a very deep baritone voice. And I tell him that that can be threatening to some people. So I told him, you know, don't use your full voice, you know, raise it, you know, a couple of octaves as to not frighten people, and don't be too loud. So, you know, these things, this is our reality. This is the world that we live in. These are the rules that we have to operate in order to stay somewhat safe.
So I have a friend, he was a guest here. He stayed here for 6 months. He actually was here during the very first COVID lockdown. His name was Khalif. And while he was, his mother died when he was young. She died of cancer. And while he was staying here, his father died. And so he had no parents left. And he had some cousins in Brooklyn, but you know, he pretty much didn't have a family. He was he's very smart. He lives in Las Vegas now. He's very smart, but he's also got a huge heart. He loves everybody. He cares about everybody. He always thinks the best of everybody, but he's also very big, very dark, very tall. And he has the heart of a lion. And I wrote a poem about the fact that lions don't necessarily roar because they want to eat you. Sometimes lions roar because they can, just because they can. But when we would go out very often in public, I used to have to tell him, Khalif, be careful. Don't scare the rabbits. I know you want to roar, but sometimes you have to be careful not to scare the rabbits. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing these. I'm hopeful that with your help, we can find more people, we can reach more people, we can include more stories and more poetry, and really make this anthology something that is very meaty and something that we can share, that we can all take into bookstores and book signings and book readings. To that end, one of the things the Garden would like to do when the anthology is published, we will have it available for public purchase on Lulu, but for people who have submitted content to the anthology, we will make accessible to you at cost, plus shipping, of course, as many copies as you want so that you can sell the anthology. You can do your own book readings and your own distribution at those places and those outlets where you feel like they should have been. For me, I feel like I want to give free copies to the police departments and the sheriff departments. Like, here, this is a gift for you. This is very important. So, thank you.
Very good, Susan. Thank you. If no one else is, we're coming up on quite a bit of time here, so I don't want to keep anyone too late in the evening. But I know Lisa would like to share about some workshops she has coming up.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. We've got workshops coming up, actually starting on, well, Susan's got something she's cooking up, and so I'll let her speak to that. But I put some links in there. Monday night, I'm having an event for poetry writing. There'll be people in the event that aren't writing about the talk, but it's basically an opportunity if you need to be with a group to kind of help kind of get the wheels going. That might be a good meeting to come to. So I popped the link in there. If you want to sign up for that, it's probably going to last about an hour and a half. I generally can come up with ideas that kind of help get the cogs loose in the brain a little bit. So that's kind of what I do. Also, of course, I popped the link in the chat on submissions. Actually, a good number of people in this room have already submitted, and I'm very grateful for that. I see a couple people that have committed to me that they're going to submit. So I also know I'm going to be expecting some things to come up with that. Anybody can email me directly if they want to have any questions. It's prolificpulse@gmail.com. And you can ask any questions that you have on this. I think we're going to gauge how things go Monday night as to whether I have any more poetry workshops. But Susan, you were working on some writing workshops.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. I just keep thinking about this thing that Cheryl said about, telling children that they have to shrink themselves, like you can't be all that you were born to be. This is something that just, and like Carlos said, the emotion that goes with this, the anger, and then the idea that you can't express that. Yeah, this is very, very challenging. We will have Monday night workshops. I know Lisa's got a Monday night workshop for poetry. So people that who they think, well, maybe I can write poetry, but I've never done it before. Lisa's so good at getting people to find their voice, to find their poetic voice. People who never thought they could write poetry after one workshop with Lisa, they're able to find their poetic voice. Similarly, in the Guardian will be sponsoring a Monday nights Eastern time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, all through December. We will be sponsoring writers' workshops. So people who aren't really sure, can I write? Can I tell a story? I have a story to tell. How can I turn that into something that is a written page? We will do writing workshops to help people find their voice in telling whatever story it is that they have. Those will be Monday nights at 7. I don't have an Eventbrite link yet. I will say that we do have links set up for Inside the Garden, and of course that's a women's only space, but this is not a women's only event, and so there will be Eventbrite links also for these workshops. Additionally, we've got a number of people who are around the world who have said, well, I can't do 7 p.m. at Eastern time because that's the middle of the night for me, and so we'll also be having some morning sessions as well, writers' workshops, to help people find their voice and tell their stories. So if you know someone who's got a story to tell and they are the reticent, reluctant writer. They're afraid. They think they can't. We will help them get their story published. So feel free to contact either me. I put my email in the my direct email in the chat. Either contact me or contact Lisa, and we will get people situated with a workshop so that they can get that. And even if they just have audio, we can do transcription. We're all, Nancy and Lisa and I are all very fine transcriptionists as well. So the idea is to get these out into the world and published into the anthology. Thank you so much for your support.
If you have Microsoft Word, you can actually talk to your computer. It'll type it up for you. So that might come in handy. Everybody's got a story to tell. We want to hear them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if that's everything for tonight, I don't want to keep anyone any longer. This has been amazing. I think we should do this more often. This
Well,
is the spark, the seed of a great new idea. And thank you all so much for being here. Just absolute pleasure. Thank you.